We're now going to compare the sizes of two fractions by putting the correct sign between them. There are two possible signs we can put between the fractions. So we can either put a sign that points to the left like that, or we can put a sign between them that points to the right like that. Now, only one of them will be correct in each question. And the only way we can determine which sign to put between them is by first of all working out which fraction is bigger, and we've done that before. So once you've worked out which fraction is bigger, you copy the original two fractions down, and the arrow you put between them must always point at the smaller fraction. Okay, so copy the original two fractions down again once you've worked out which one is bigger, and then put the arrow in that points at the smaller fraction. So if we take a look at part A, we want to put the correct sign between 7/12 and 5/8. At the minute we don't know which is bigger, so we need to make both denominators the same. So to do that, we get the LCM of the denominators. So the smallest number that 12 and 8 go into is going to be 24. So we're going to change each fraction into an equivalent fraction with the denominator 24. So let's take 7/12. So we want to make its denominator 24. So we have to multiply 12 by 2 to get 24, and we have to do exactly the same to the numerator. We'll have to multiply it by 2. So 7 multiplied by 2 is going to give us 14. So let's do exactly the same thing for 5/8. We need to turn it into an equivalent fraction with a denominator of 24. So we're going to have to multiply 8 by 3. And we're going to have to do exactly the same thing to the 5. We're going to have to multiply it by 3. So 5 times 3 is going to give us 15. So we've changed the original fractions into equivalent fractions with the same denominator. So it's now what you have to do is identify which equivalent fraction is bigger. Well, 15/24 is bigger than 14/24 because the 15 here is bigger than the 14. So 15/24 is clearly the bigger one. Now, 15/24 is equivalent to 5/8, and 14/24 is equivalent to 7/12. So if 15/24 is bigger, well, that means 5/8 is bigger than 7/12. So this one over here is bigger. So what we're going to do is copy the original two fractions down again. So we've got 7/12, we've got 5/8. We've just worked out that 5/8 is bigger. So the sign that we put between them has to point at the smaller fraction. So the smaller fraction is 7/12. So the sign we put in looks like that. It's pointing towards the smaller one. And that is our final answer for part A. Okay, let's look at part B. So our two fractions are 11/15 and 3/5, and we want to decide which arrow goes between them. So to do that, we need to work out which fraction is bigger. So we have to make both denominators the same. So the smallest number that 15 and 5 both go into is 15. So what we're going to do now is change each of the original fractions into an equivalent fraction with a denominator of 15. Well, the good news is the denominator here already is 15, so we don't need to do anything to 11 over 15, but we do need to change 3/5 into an equivalent fraction with a denominator of 15. So let's take 3/5. So we want to turn it into an equivalent fraction with a denominator of 15. So we have to multiply the 5 by 3. And to be consistent, we have to multiply the top number, the numerator, by exactly the same number. So we've got to multiply it by 3. So that's going to give us 3 3s are 9. So we're going to get 9 over 15. Now, 3/5 is the same as 9 over 15. So we're now comparing the two fractions that have the same denominator. So we've got 11 over 15 and 9 over 15. Well, clearly this guy here is going to be the bigger one because 11 here is bigger than 9. So in this situation, 11 over 15 is bigger. So what we do now is write the original two fractions down again. We've just identified which one is bigger. So the arrow we put in always points at the smaller fraction. So if this is the bigger one, that's the smaller one. So the arrow this time, or the sign, must point to the right. The sign or the arrow always points at the smaller one. So this was the smaller fraction in part B, and this was the smaller fraction in part A. So the arrow or the sign is always pointing at the smaller fraction. And that's our final answer.